watching Hockey Night in Canada. I hate to say it. Last night, I'm doing this is on Sunday. The violence, and I'm thinking, what happened? Did something happen?
Did you miss something?
Something happened? And what happened? And they were still talking about Wilson.
Yeah.
And he didn't think it was anything. Not to go into it again, but he didn't think it was anything. That's why he took off his sweater and let on he was Superman. Up to the front. He thought it was funny, and they were talking about the violence of the game and life is changing. And I'm not criticizing. Well, I guess I am criticizing.
Well, the hard thing was that they go, oh, he punched him in. Wilson punched the Ranger in the back of the head.
Punched him on his shoulder. He left his gloves on. And
then Panarin has jumped on his back.
What is he supposed to do? Guy jumps on his back. Panarin, there's nothing wrong with it. He's out for the season probably.
Well, 3 games. But
two games left. And let's see, the Jim Nolan, I think the guy's name is Jim Nolan, the owner. Isn't that the owner? What is he? Anyhow, he's the head guy. He fires the guys the next day. Now, they were going to fire them anyhow? What happened? I couldn't believe the furor over the thing. And Paris, it's a good job we got Paris as the safety guy, or what do you call him?
Yeah, he's director of player safety. He made the right decision.
Absolutely.
But it was the hardest decision.
Yeah, easiest thing for him to do, and believe me, they will get somebody in there be a sweetheart. I think they're talking about they mentioned Korea.
Yeah.
He played the game sweet.
Well,
he was a good player. Don't get me wrong. He'd be sweet. But he would have suspended guys.
Everybody says, Paris, he's a goon, he's a dummy, and all that. He's 4 years in Princeton College, which is even in a lot of ways more prestigious than Yale or Harvard.
Is that right?
And he was voted by Sporting News one of the most intelligent athletes in sports.
I won't hold that against him.
And but you're right. One of the guys last night said, well, he should have suspended him for the optics. Well, you can't do that. You can't say, well, nothing really happened, but kind of looked bad, so we're going to give you a game or two.
Well, that's the old story. They're worried about the press.
Right. They're worried about now what's right.
Yeah, but it was last night. They were talking about the violence of the game. It's changing. Everything is changing. And I'm thinking, holy smoke, something else happened. Something happened. Like somebody did something.
Thank goodness for Bieksa. He was the only one that seemed to
Bieksa's good.
Yeah, he was the only one. He fought Tom Wilson, too, he said.
Oh, I like Bieksa. How do you pronounce it?
Bieksa, I think.
How do you? Anyhow, I always liked him when he played, and he's good on television. Thank goodness he's there. You better be careful. And he just goes so far.
Yeah. He knows. Does he keep pushing the line like you did?
Well, he's pushing the line, but he don't go too far.
He should know.
But it just what a strange year for the Rangers. Well, they signed that D'Angelo $9 million contract.
Yeah,
and then 2 weeks in, he gets a
one-way contract, I think, too.
Yeah, and he gets into a fight with the goalie, and they send him home. Nobody will touch him.
Yeah, but he'd been in trouble before.
So he'd
have jumped in.
Yeah, so he's $4.5 million sitting at home because nobody else will take him. And then that Panarin, he got that. He said something bad about Putin, and then all of a sudden, all these rumors were coming out about him from Russia. So he had to take some time off, and then you had this thing.
Remember Putin at the Olympics? That was the one thing he wanted to win was hockey.
It's Sochi, yeah.
And the only thing he came to was the hockey, and he was sitting up by secret, eh?
Yeah.
And I said, somehow or other, I saw the marsh pegs, and I said, they are not the same marsh pegs that they use in the National Hockey League.
The pegs, those are the pegs to hold the goal post hold the goal post steady.
I said that could cost them dearly. During the game, this is no kidding. That's why everybody watched the Coach's Corner. And what happened was I think they were high school or something. They went up and they stayed up. And they scored a goal. Was it an overtime? I think it was an overtime. Anyhow, it was an important goal. It would have been the winning goal. And they lost, and they got put out. And they should have won the Russians that year.
Yeah, well, they come in second. Canada would have beat them.
Well, at least they'd be in the final game, and anything can happen. But I remember Putin was at the I'm not
Well, if you
cheering
needed,
for Putin, but he pretty tough guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't cross this guy too
well, I'll
much.
tell you, if they needed motivation, that would have been it, eh? Having Putin
But-
watching you.
Yeah.
So, but Panarin, he said something bad about Putin, and all of a sudden, all these accusations came out of Russia. So they've had a tough year, the Rangers. But but I like as you say, I can't believe like everybody who's saying, oh well, that statement that they said, which was awful, what they put out about Paros was. Wasn't fit to do.
I think they were mad. Eh?
Yeah, but I think that I got to say, where I think it all started was the Rangers on-air guys. Like they were incipient whining about Tom Wilson and doing and going on and on about it. It just started to snowball. So then you put it on the internet and you hear them whining about Tom Wilson and how terrible he is, and then it starts getting momentum, right? Like if you had the Washington guys talking about it, nothing would have happened.
Yeah.
But the Rangers guys, but I mean,
Well, that's why I say Wilson thought it was. He didn't think it was anything. I didn't think it was anything. He never took his gloves off. When he take your gloves off, you're looking for trouble. I mean,
yeah,
he kept his gloves off.
Because he could have taken the gloves off and he could have pounded him into the ground.
He could have. He'd give him a couple of swats, and that was it.
And they said, well, his helmet came off. Well, that's not Tom Wilson's fault. His helmet came off. He's one of those guys that doesn't put his helmet on.
Well, he took it. He takes it off.
No. Panarin helmet came off, but he's one of those guys that has a really loose strap.
Yeah, and then we won't go into it again, but he did. And Wilson took his sweater off and everything. And
but
he made it worse.
As you say, sometimes the karma comes around, and now Wilson's out.
He got a knee last night.
Got a knee
Saturday night, and that guy.
But the funny thing, you and I were talking about it, Dad. We're seeing that a lot in minor
Never used to see knee.
We never saw a knee, and once they came in with the hitting, like the headshots. So the minor referees, they side on they go on the side of caution.
Yeah.
So if you hit a guy with your shoulder to shoulder, they'll call it a headshot.
Yeah.
Regardless,
and you can't blame them.
Because
They got to cover themselves. They know
Right.
the parents are watching in the.
So now what the kids are doing is if they got a guy lined up, they don't want to hit him with the shoulder because they know they're going to get a penalty. They'll stick their knee out and clip the guys who are going by. And we've never used to see it, but the last time we didn't go out this year, but last year we were out. I bet you we saw 10, 12 kneeing penalties, which we
and
never
that used to be
them.
it was one of the dirtiest things you could do. You talk about violence. I mean, that to me, that's the record guys.
But the thing is, people that don't know a lot about hockey, that are watching those minor midget games and all that, they don't see that, right? So they don't visualize that as violence and everything. So what did your mother used to say? The road to hell is paved
With good intentions.
With good intentions, and that's how it's evolved, right?
Well, anyhow, we won't go talk about that.